All right, we are recording for take two. Sim's way thing to put it is I just kept putting my foot in my mouth, so it's like, yeah, I don't need to keep that 45 minutes. Um, so yeah, getting back to this Utopia of their trades and manner of life. We start off with a statement that is far too long than what is necessary. Agriculture is that which is so universally understood among them that no person, either man or woman, is ignorant of it. They are instructed in it from their childhood, partly by what they learn at school and partly by practice, they being led out often into the fields about the town, where they not only see others at work, but are likewise exercised in it themselves. It was already established before that people are cycled out of the city into the country for 2 years. We do not need all this written here for something we already know they are educated in, but they're not experienced in. I'm sorry, 2 years, I'm never going to consider 2 years enough time to truly become experienced in agriculture, okay? There's way too much stuff that can go on longer than 2 years. Like, if you're doing irrigation, it might take longer than 2 years before it's like, okay, we need to rebuild this, or something like that. It's like, you might be lucky and never encounter that. Let's just say, oh yeah, here's the irrigation system. Until it fails, there's really no reason to do more than just, kind of show it to you. But then it's like, oh, it breaks. Well, wonderful. Now, people, here's how you see how that works and see how you can put it in. But yeah, so it's just silly. Does mention every man has some peculiar trade to which he implies himself. It's actually all people. We'll get to that later. Well, unknown about age, but is all people, men and women, such as the manufacture of wool or flax, masonry, smith's work, or carpenter work. There's no sort of trade that is in great esteem among them. I reject this thoroughly, because the reality is we always have a tendency, until we are able to overcome it, to see the necessary work as of lower esteem, lower respect, lower dignity than the less necessary work. So, now true, technically Utopia does try to present Utopia is presented as though there is no such thing as unnecessary work. Although even then, no, that's false, because we know it's stated before. Oh yeah, they only sow as much corn as they're going to eat. Oh wait, no, they actually sow a great deal more and sell the excess. That does mean then that there is less value to the farmer. Because it is you are knowingly producing more than is necessary here. Whereas a carpenter might only ever work on things that are directly going to be used. Like, they made a chair because somebody needs a chair. They made a table because somebody needs a table. So, yeah, but it is also ironic because the farmer is necessary. But I guess to the extent that they are overproducing, that is unnecessary. But yeah, it's just, that's not how humans tend to work. We do always see that in every culture, there are people seen as less. There are crafts, there are trades that are seen as less than others. And it is kind of funny that it does seem like the necessary ones are the ones typically seen that way. Because I guess it's also because they end up being the dirty jobs. Because, hey, they got to be done. Whereas the cleaner jobs are seen as better just because they're clean. But it's like, well, how much of those actually need to be done versus the other? Throughout the island, they wear the same sort of clothes, without any other distinction except what is necessary to distinguish the two sexes and the married and unmarried. The fashion never alters, and as it is neither disagreeable nor uneasy, so it is suited to the climate and calculated both for their summers and winters. Where the hell is Utopia set? Because where I live, you are not wearing the same clothes year round. We get fairly hot summers, we can get very cold winters. That happens in a lot of places. There is no way you'd say, oh yeah, it's the same clothes you can wear. No, you're definitely changing. You're definitely putting on something like a heavier coat or something in the winter. So yeah, that. But it is also here we do have the whole, guess what? In your life, you can expect only two types of clothes. One before you're married, one after you're married. It is more a feminine thing, but everyone likes to dress in an attractive manner. But attractive can have different meanings. It can also be to just show something off about yourself as well. So yeah, it's stupid. And also, it is mentioned later, they are of natural color. Even then, though, there's a qualifier there that is you're undoing your own argument. Like you're presenting a contradiction here. I feel like later there is a mention of there being different colors, but don't know. We'll see. It might just be my memory is incorrect there. The same trade generally passes down from father to son. That's not been the case in my family, by the way. Inclinations often following descent. But if any man's genius lies another way, he is, by adoption, translated into a family that deals in the trade to which he is inclined. So your daddy was a glassmaker, but you like working with wood. So congratulations, you have a new father, who is a carpenter. I'm just... Son, I understand you don't want to be a glassmaker. No, Daddy, I like working with... That's nice. Here's the thing. You are never to acknowledge that. Why not? Because if you ever do, somebody is going to come take you away from me and your mother. Say, I don't want that. I don't want that either. But unfortunately, we live in this very evil society that would rather separate you from me than just allow you to be educated somewhere else and always come back here and always have me as your father. I understand apprenticeships. I understand how it even described More was placed in the house of Cardinal Morton. I understand that. He wasn't adopted by Cardinal Morton. He wasn't adopted. No apprentice... Well, apprentices were not adopted by their master. They were still of their family. They might be gone from their family for a long time, yes. But it's still, they were not adopted. Okay? I should also acknowledge that the contracts they had sometimes were abusive. And definitely some masters did abuse their apprentices. This is definitely fact. It wasn't always the case, but it is possible. And it does try to say here that after a person has learned... Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's too early. And when that is to be done, care is taken not only by his father, but by the magistrate, that it may be put to a discreet and good man. So it's like, oh yeah, we try to make sure that it isn't a horrible person who's going to take advantage of you, who's going to abuse you. But there are plenty of people that it's I had no idea. He seemed so nice. There's so many people like that. So yeah, this is not a healthy society. It is an evil society. It wants to separate people like this. And it is basically for the good of the state, the state will do whatever it wishes to you. And we even get that a little later, because what about if somebody wants to learn a second trade? When he has learned both, he follows that which he likes best, unless the public has more occasion for the other. So, let's say you want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse, some sort of medical caregiver, right? That's what you want to do, because you want to be able to, work with people that way. You want to be able to help them that way. But you also are a skilled carpenter. Hey, we need more carpenters than we need doctors right now. You have to be a carpenter. It's but I want to go out and help the sick. It's nope, we need a table. Get to work. That's what the state is going to do to you in Utopia. There's also, imagine teachers. Somebody who would want to just spend time with young people and with children, teaching them. It's but aren't you also, a smith? I mean, yes, I was also... We need you to go and do that. Don't teach these kids. Don't spend time with them. It's but I love working with children and sharing these things with them. Don't you think that's important? Yeah. But the smithing is more important right now, so go do that. The magistrates, I'm pretty sure it's the lower one. I don't remember the terms they were using. But their responsibility is just to make sure that no one is idle. That everyone is following his trade diligently. Now, it is mentioned later that they tend to also work themselves, though they don't have to. But, they set that good example. But still is so you have taskmasters. Now, true, you voted for them, but you have taskmasters. Kind of makes me think of the capos in The Password is Courage. Then also mentions that there was a 24-hour day. They only have 6 of them for work, 3 before and 3 after dinner, and then 8 hours for sleep. So that's 14 hours. What do you do with the other 10? Is left to every man's discretion. Yet they are not to abuse that interval to luxury and idleness, but must employ it in some proper exercise according to their various inclinations. Meaning, oh yes, you're free to do whatever you want, so long as we say you can. There are plenty of times when it's like you just want to rest. Say, nope, can't do it. Oh, geez, I just thought about that. I don't know if that is actually brought up later. Courting. It's like, how do you even get married in this society? Because you would need time to go out and find, for men to find women and women to find men. How would you do that? Because if you basically always can you say like, you seem to be idle? No, I'm cruising for women. It's like, would the state be like, carry on? Or would that be a... No, I don't think so. But it also, because that would even come down to your charisma and attractiveness. Because I believe that there could be some handsome men where it's like, you're going to find a woman, go ahead. But then some homely dudes where it's like, yeah, I'm trying to find a wife. It's like, that ain't happening, dude. Get back to work. We know that would happen. Come on. So, yeah, it just... Legitimately, it is describing a slave state. Okay, this fully is what Utopia is. If others that are not made for contemplation, because it talks about, like in the mornings, you'll see lectures being done and everyone can go to those. If others are not made for contemplation, choose rather to employ themselves at their time in their trades, as many of them do. They are not hindered, but are rather commended as men that can take care as men that care to serve their country. So it's I don't feel like going to the lecture, so I'm just going to keep working. It's like, great. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I'd be somebody that would probably be doing stuff like that. That's fine. But let's also be real. We're even talking about take care to serve their country. So yeah, you, by continuing to work, you are serving the country. You, who are going to lectures. I'm not saying that about you. I guess I'm not going to go to so many lectures because I want to be one who's serving the country. That makes me look better. That makes me more value. I should do this. It is evil. And that's not... It's the division being made there, okay? Because it can also be that the person that goes out to work, it might just be, yes, I genuinely enjoy that. It's not about becoming better, but it still is. There's a social competition going on there. And to straight up label it that, hey, as are rather commended as men that take care to serve their country. So they are elevating those people. That's unhealthy. That's the evil thing. That's separation. That is not to say spending your time continuing to work, and this is outside of Utopia. It's not to say spending your time to continue to work is a bad thing. No, not at all. I am not saying that. I am saying that this commending of one group and not the other, despite the system being designed for both to be doing exactly what they are doing, creating that division there, that is evil. That is harmful to the society. It then talks about the, tries to answer the question that some may be having of how is 6 hours enough time? I just want to scroll on my notes a little bit. Okay. And the answer is basically, well, it's because everyone is made to work. It's like, yeah, guess what? Women, you're working. In Utopia, you don't get to be a housewife. You don't get to just raise the kids. You don't get to enjoy that great privilege of your husband deciding, nope, I will work myself to the bone so that you don't have to. You don't get to have that. You're expected to work as well. Okay? And does also mention that, yeah, they tend to work in certain trades that their weakness fits better, while men work in the ruder trades. Ruder trades. There we go. Which, look, I'm sorry for people that really don't want to understand this, but we are a sexually dimorphic species. And women on average, are weaker than men. They are smaller than men, which means that there's many physical activities they are less capable of than men. There's nothing wrong with that. Just how it is. Yeah, so you were made to work as well. Because it's basically saying that, all these other places, it's like all these other nations, all these other countries, look at how many people are idle there. And they name priests, they name noblemen and gentlemen, and beggars as look at all these people that are just idle all the time. And it's like, that's not necessarily true. Priests, I certainly believe they do a great deal of work, even back then. And it might be work that is they're at pen and paper, that they're doing stuff there, but it still is that's legitimate work as well. The state shouldn't be the one deciding that. It's like the thing about with the pandemic and how, I'm trying to remember what the term was. Well, basically the necessary jobs and the jobs that weren't necessary. So those that were allowed to go to work and those who, you're not as important, so you can be laid off. It's like the state making that decision is horrible and is wrong. But Utopia is essentially, Raphael's point of view is like, oh yeah, they're idle, so we'll just put the priests to work as well. It's like, that's you're actually taking them away from something that they should be doing. And I do find it a little odd, because this is Saint Thomas More that wrote this. So I find it odd him doing that, but it might just be he wants Raphael to be... Thus far, there's basically no apparent respect for any religion. That might change. The final chapter is of their religions. It's... my brain just turned off a little bit. It might just be that he wants Raphael to be a deeply secular character. And so he's writing it that way, which in a way may make sense, because this is supposed to be a political satire. And I could believe that at this time, many of the kings and such who would read this would themselves be so secular. So they might be aligning with Raphael somewhat. So it's a way to get the satire through to them. Then we have this, which I'm going to go off on. I know I'm going to rant here. For we who measure all things by money give rise to many trades that are both vain and superfluous. This is completely, categorically false. Okay? By the nature of money being exchanged, right? If you pay me to do something, it doesn't matter what that something is. The fact that you have decided my doing that work is of greater value than the money, it ceases to be vain or superfluous. Okay? Because it is being because the transaction implies that it is of greater value than money, or equal value. And when I recorded this before, the example I tried to give, probably poorly, but was thinking about streamers today. Utopia would absolutely see that as vain and superfluous work. But there are some that they're making thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Probably at the hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's because of brand deals and such, sponsorships. But there's probably plenty that are making hundreds to thousands of dollars every month, just on super chats and such. Just people saying, "Hey, yes, I earned this money. I want you to have it though, because you have done something. You have given me something that I consider of greater value than this, and so this is my appreciation for it." And it's always funny when you see some people like a super chat with $5 where it's like, yeah, I lost my job today, but just want to say thank you, because you guys, you've gotten me through many long, hard days. And then people read the super chat and it's like, why are you spending that money? You need to take care of yourself first. We're okay. Don't do that. Thank you, but by definition, that streamer, their work is not vain or superfluous, because that person chose to spend the money that way. Okay, that is of greater value than that money. And that's part of the beauty, in a sense. Maybe that's not the best word, but that is part of the thing that makes money actually very useful, very powerful, and a good thing in some ways. It's not always a good thing. Money in and of itself is probably just neutral, but there are, like how I mentioned before, that money in place of bartering is better because it allows a standard there, because the money is a standard. So you don't need to worry about, oh, well, that person, they don't actually want what I have, but I want something they have, so now I got to go find somebody else, in some sort of circle now in order to get them what they want so I can have what I want. But with money, it can be do you want this? No? Okay. I'll sell my stuff to you, get the money, here you go, now give me that thing. That is so much easier, that's so much better. And it also means this, though, that, as I already said, if you choose to spend your money on something, that is also a statement that you value that more than your money. Now, I can understand that people forget that. That people forget that is the nature of every transaction with money. But it still that is a reality there, and Raphael is completely dismissing that, and that is wrong. That is wrong to do. And I'm sure he would consider streamers to be vain or superfluous. But they're not. There are plenty of people that, that they talk about how, yep, they're a trucker. But they have that stream on because it gives them something that isn't just music. It's somebody talking about this stuff, and it can make them laugh. It can inform them. And occasionally, they may send something in there so they can have a parasocial relationship, but it still is some sort of connection with that person. And in some cases, also, the parasocial relationships come about because you found that person that, even though, yes, you were not directly communicating with them, they're still saying things that connect with you. That it's like, okay, I'm not so alone in the world, right? That, I'm not the only one thinking this. I might not know anyone in reality that thinks this, but there is that other person out there. So, yeah, it's a parasocial relationship, which those can be unhealthy, but at the same time, it can also be a sanity check for some people, where it's like, okay, yes, I'm not alone in thinking this. Like, that kind of sanity check, probably useful. We then get a mention here that just as the magistrates have an exemption from work, though often they choose to work anyway, like exemption is allowed to those who, being recommended to the people by the priests, are the secret by the secret suffrages of the lower magistrates. I'm pretty sure it is privilege from labor. So it's basically, hey, this carpenter, he's actually really smart, and he's very interested in books and such. So we want him to be exempt from being a carpenter so that he can go study and focus on that. That's actually possible, but let's also be real that that's going to be. I'm pretty sure I did go on the rant earlier with the whole no idleness and such, where it's like, hey, I value. It's like the magistrates can be like, no, you're more valuable as a carpenter than as anything else. I mean, yeah, that's actually true. In the Riververse Omnibus, in Horseman number 1, oh crap, I can't remember his name. Oh well, he's currently working for a shipping company, and he's moving boxes around because he's a big, strong guy, and he's like, hey, I'd really like to be a driver. And his boss tells him, no, to replace you here, we need another forklift. So it's like, you're staying right there. And it's like, he wants a legitimate promotion. It's like, nope, can't have that. You're more valuable right here. Think that's not going to happen in this case? Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, and also I can something else I wrote in there about the whole. This is something where money is actually very powerful. Because if a carpenter decides, hey, I want to go back to school. I want to study, let's just say philosophy. So very much something that is you're reading books, right? And not doing any manual labor. If a carpenter ends up making enough money to decide, yeah, I'm going to take a year off, 2 years off, and go do that, they can't, because it's just the money that determines that, not their work. So it's like, yes, they're not working, they're not generating more of that value during that time, but they already generated some and are able to use that. And they don't need anyone else's permission. They don't need to get people to convince somebody else that, oh, he should be allowed to do this. No, he can just choose to do that. And it's like that is of great value because it's allowing the individual to do what they want. It can also just be a, hey, you know what? I've been working hard for 5 years. I finally have saved up enough money. And with all the expenses, that's I want to spend a year going to Europe. People do that. Or I want to spend a year where I just go through every state in the United States. I want to see all that. You can do that. You can take a long vacation because so long as you have the money for the expenses for it, because you earned that, you're good to go. There's no mention here of any kind of vacation. Like, how would you take time off? Because, like, no, you expect to work those 6 hours. I just want to travel. I want to leave Utopia. I want to see other places and come back. Nothing like it. It then starts having a criticism here that is unfair. Because it talks about how people may allow buildings to fall into disrepair. It's a long paragraph, and I only highlight some of it. But it's now by basically keeping up the maintenance, you'll see the cost of maintenance be lower. Because, small fix here, small fix here, small fix here, as opposed to no fix, no fix, no fix, and then the problem gets larger. And it is also just talking about how they always have enough people to do the work because, hey, it's a slave state. We can just make people do this. But it does also mention someone may allow something to fall into decline. Yeah, it happens because we're surrounded by it, and so there's small things where it's like, you just adapt. So that's not a problem. It's not bothering you. You just adapt, keep adapting, and then if somebody else comes in, it's like, wait a minute, there's major problems here. Did you not notice these? It's like, well, not really. But he's suffering to fall to ruin, builds another at no less charge. So the idea being that your home, you've accumulated so much wealth, and you've allowed your home to fall into such decline that instead of trying to repair it, you'll just spend the same amount of money building a new house. I mean, to be fair, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because it could then be you do that, maybe that building then does get destroyed, get demolished, and then a new home is built there for somebody else. Or maybe somebody comes in that is like, you know what, yeah, and I will just invest and do the repairs myself, but buy it at a lower cost. It's like, because there's some people, that's exactly what they want to do. Some people like the fixer-upper. But also does continue here. But among the utopians, all things are so regulated that men very seldom build upon a new piece of ground. So straight up, nope, you're not allowed to expand. Population growth is going to be a problem. What happens, I mean, it's like, hey, from father to son, same trade goes on. What if he has 2 sons? What if he has 3 sons? Are they all expected, if it's a carpenter, are they all expected to work in the same workshop that the father alone potentially was working in? That's going to get cramped. What if some of them have certain preferences that the others don't like? They need to be able to build another workshop, don't they? Well, you can't build a new building. Well, then maybe you can find somebody else that you can go spend time with. That, join another shop. It's like, okay, but that is already filled with somebody else's son. Why should they bring you in? Okay, as to their clothes, observe how little work is spent in them, which is not something explained before. While they are at labor, they are clothed with leather and skins cut carelessly about them, which will last 7 years. And then they just put on an upper garment, which hides these. So congratulations, you were going around in leather and skins for underwear. Not so sure about that one. How much I'd enjoy that. And then going back to these upper garments, all of one color, and that is the natural color of the wool. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense for how they've been talking about things before that. Hey, you're not allowed any self-expression or anything like that. As they need less woolen cloth than is used anywhere else because they don't wear, because they're not wearing them when they work. So that which they make use of is much less costly. So it's of lower quality because it doesn't need to stand up as long, I guess. They use linen cloth more, but that is prepared with less labor. And they value cloth only by the whiteness of the linen or the cleanness of the wool. Huh. That's interesting. That's also the last highlight I got here. That's interesting. I thought that they don't have a sense of property. Because, Oh, I want that one. Why? It's cleaner. It's whiter. I want that one more. So, what about this? Just take this one. That it's yeah, it sounds white, but it'll serve you. It's like no, no, no. I want the whitest because it is going to matter. It's what you're wearing, or is it the whole? Hey, anyone can just walk into anybody's home. It's like all right, fine. I'm just going to walk in and steal your nice white clothes, and I'm going to look better. Yeah, but there's no property, so there's no theft. And there's also at this time, I'm pretty sure 16th century, they would have already had concepts of how to bleach clothes. Maybe not with bleach, but how to do that. So absolutely, you'd see people doing that to their clothes. Like, I'm washing my clothes. That's clearly something I need to do. That's a regular chore. Okay. Yeah, okay, you can do that. Getting it as white as possible. So now when they go into town, it's like, yeah, I got the whitest clothes that around here. It's like, that's absolutely going to happen because that's normal human condition kind of stuff. And it's also like the whole married versus unmarried and how they have different clothes for that, different styles at least. The unmarried, yeah, they probably do stuff like that because, well, yeah, it would suggest value because, like, hey, they value the cleanliness. So there's that, but it might also be oh, that's in better repair. Like, they're not working that, they're not making that filthy. Right? So they take better care of that. If they take better care of that, they'll take better care of me. That kind of thing, right? So that's exactly going to be going on because it's completely human nature for that to go on. But Raphael, no. Human nature, that's not a real thing. Yeah. All right. I think I managed to not put my foot in my mouth this time. Yay, and shorter too. I was past 45 minutes on the first attempt at this, but, oh, man. it, part of what makes this still enjoyable, as frustrating as it can be, but still enjoyable to go through, is seeing these arguments presented, like the whole vain and superfluous, because you have money, so the vain and superfluous can be bought. It's like if it's being bought, it's not vain or superfluous. Someone decided it has value. It's like that is how it works. So yeah, and also would this stuff be considered vain superfluous that I'm doing? Because on the one hand, am I bettering society? Some people would definitely say no, because I mean, what does it matter? He's just reading some book and telling us if it's good or not. It's like, yeah, but at the same time, isn't identifying strengths and weaknesses within stories, being a critic, critiquing these things, isn't that helping? I mean, I don't know how much I've talked about it in these videos, but I wrote that on the Nature of Criticism article, talk about how criticism should be a celebration. It's like the good stuff you celebrate, and so hey, you're holding up and showing it. The bad stuff, you're saying, hey, look at this and how bad it is. But still, it's a celebration of whatever the thing is about. Yeah, which in general you can just say it's culture. So it's like you have to reject that culture has value, and plenty of people do, in order to say that even this work should not be done, that this is vain or superfluous. It's like, no, there's a value to it, and it's also making me better at my own writing. So. But I'm not making any money. I'm just doing this for the fun of it. So I'm actually spending money. How much money? The camera I spend that. A lot of the other stuff I already had. Plenty of books though I purchased for this. Haven't necessarily gotten to them, but I purchased plenty of them. So yeah, I'm net negative here, but I enjoy it. So it's that whole thing. It's like I'm spending money on it because I value this stuff. I value having a better camera. I value having these other books I've read, or the omnibus, to use that since I had just done that one. The film novelizations, because I was curious and I valued having that curiosity satisfied if it is good or not, more than the money. The books I purchased from the cover impressions, because those looked intriguing enough that I valued them more than the money I spent. So that is how that's a good, healthy thing. So, yeah. But Raphael would not understand that. He's an idiot. See you next time for Of Their Traffic. Actually, hang on. How long can this one be? Oh, wow, it's actually kind of long. Okay. It's about the same length as what we just went through, and I just find that kind of funny. I just wouldn't think that of their traffic would be that long. But hey, we'll see. We'll see. See you next time.